Booktube! Welcome back to the Babbling Bee. I hope that your Jane Austen July is going well if you are participating. The month is flying by, and today I am just going to quickly do a kind of general wrap-up of things that I have read over the last few months. I don't think, done a wrap-up in a few months, so I have a little stack here of books that I have completed lately. I might have missed a few, and I'm sure I'll find them in various corners as soon as I'm done filming this, but we're just going to do our best with what we have. These are not in order of when I read them, this is just the stack. Some of these are things that I read for the 1900 to 1950 readathon, and the rest are just random and things that I felt like picking up. So let's get right into it. The first in the stack is Cold Comfort Farm by Stella Gibbons, and this I did read for the 1900 to 1950 readathon, and I really enjoyed this. It was a lot weirder than I expected it to be. A major component of Cold Comfort Farm is a sort of Austen-esque social satire, and looking at people's quirky qualities and the things that make them maybe a little bit odd or unique or individual. And Stella Gibbons very much makes those qualities funny in these characters, but there's just some weirdness in Cold Comfort Farm that I wasn't really anticipating, but I did enjoy it. I would say if you like that kind of social humor in Jane Austen, if you enjoy the way that Jane Austen is kind of slyly, sarcastically smirking even as she narrates, I think that you would enjoy Stella Gibbons's like tone, her voice, and I would say too that Cold Comfort Farm felt like that style of social satire, but maybe with a bit more acid, a bit more sarcasm, and maybe a bit more like PG-13 instead of PG. But yes, I really enjoyed this story. I loved the character of Flora post, and watching her kind of do a sort of Mary Poppins transformation at Cold Comfort Farm. Yes, it was just very enjoyable, a lovely pastoral novel, and very gentle on the mind. So yeah, really liked that one. I also read recently, at the insistence of Kate Howe, This Beautiful Truth, How God's Goodness Breaks into Our Darkness by Sarah Clarkson. And Kate told me that, this book was going to change my life and that she was certain that I would love it and find it to be utterly mind-blowing. And she was entirely correct. This is going to be one of my favorite books of 2021, I have no doubt. It was one of those books where when you get finished with it, you're like, I'm not ready to be done with this yet, and you kind of like sneakily, maybe not start it over, but you just kind of keep it on your bedside table or somewhere within arm's reach because you're thinking like, I'm gonna need to pick this up and just read passages from it every once in a while. And that's what I've been doing. So yeah, this is Christian nonfiction, and Sarah Clarkson is looking at just kind of the subject of beauty in this and how beauty can be a spiritual tool for healing, and for getting insight into God's character. And she just happens to mention some of my favorite books and films in this book, which was like, those were just lovely little sweet surprises to encounter in the reading. But I just found this to be rich and poetic, lyrical, and utterly wondrous. And I definitely didn't get everything out of it that I know I could have the first time around, because not that the language is inaccessible by any means, but it's just so rich, and Sarah Clarkson is diving into very, very deep stuff. So this is going to definitely merit probably several rereads just throughout the rest of my life. So that was great. Then, for something completely different, I think this was in the midst of the 1900 to 1950 readathon, because, of course, being the person that I am, I was like, I just want to read lovely, feminine, cozy, relaxing stuff, like pastoral things and things that are just sweet and gentle. And then I got halfway through and I was like, I need some thrills and chills. So I saw The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, at Barnes & Noble, and grabbed it and read it in like 2 days. And normally I'm a fairly slow reader, but if a thriller really gets me, it gets me, and I will just put everything down and read it. And that's what I did. This was enjoyable. It did its job. I think I need to maybe stop buying psychological thrillers, like, if I haven't read them before, because, you know, you can never really tell how it's going to go with some books. Like, there are some books that when I purchase them, I feel very confident that I'm going to enjoy it and maybe even want to reread it, because in general, I have just developed a really strong sense of what I like in books, and normally that's not a problem. But with this genre, it's a little bit more uncertain to me. So, and then there's the issue of rereading, because now that I've got through this, I don't really see myself rereading it in the future, because I know what happens, I know the mystery. So, yeah, just note to self, Taylor, get such things at the library. But yes, I'm not even going to go into the plot of this one, because I am worried that I will accidentally spoil it a little bit. So I would say if you like this genre in general and you are particularly interested in psychological thrillers, this might be a fun one to try. It is a little bit sexy. There's definitely sexy times that occur, so just beware. That is also true of Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman, which I also read recently. This is a reread for me. I first read this, I think, in high school, and I just got a real hankering to reread this novel, because I have really been enjoying the film Practical Magic recently. That's one of my favorite movies, and I love Alice Hoffman's writing a lot. She is one of those authors that when I discovered her, I was like, this is a writing style that absolutely jives with me. Her writing is very lush and descriptive. It's often very lyrical. And I just like the themes that Alice Hoffman employs in several of her books, at least, which is like, you know, magic infiltrating the ordinary, things maybe not being quite as they seem, unusual things happening that maybe shouldn't be real, but they are. And there's just a richness to her prose that I really enjoy. And I did really enjoy this reread of Practical Magic, although I didn't remember from when I read this in high school how much there is an emphasis on sex in this book. There's, you know, this book focuses on two sisters who are very different from one another, and one of the sisters leads, I would say, kind of a dangerous lifestyle. She's a risk taker, she's kind of a rebel, but she is, you know, the comparison between the two sisters, if you think like yin and yang, light and dark, maybe one is more calm and the other one is more like passionate. So yeah, there's just more like sexy times and like sexual detail in this book than I remembered. I wouldn't say it's like completely excessive. And if you love Alice Hoffman and haven't read this, I would definitely recommend giving it a try. But it's just funny how you like the things that you remember from books or movies that you read slash watched a long time ago. And the thing is that you forget. And yeah, definitely forgot about some stuff in here. But also, I just love this edition. I think this cover is absolutely lush and gorgeous. And yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite stories. Although I will say, this is a rare case, in which I actually enjoy the film adaptation maybe a little bit more than the book, because one of the main features of this story is this old house in this small, like, New England town that the aunts, who are witches, live in. And when I first discovered practical magic, I was just utterly enamored by this house and enchanted by it, and just couldn't get enough detail about it and its history, and what it looks like. And you get a lot more of that house in the film adaptation of practical magic than you do in this book. And I had forgotten that in the book, the house is not the central setting. It's not the setting that kind of continues throughout the story. The setting changes, and then later comes back to the house. But yeah, I didn't love that. I definitely prefer the way that they did it in the film adaptation, where the house is like central, and that's where most of the action takes place. So this was a fun reread, but there were things about it that I had forgotten that I didn't love as much as I had remembered. A book that I did totally love, though, is Q's Legacy by Helene Hanff. This was just a delight. It was cozy. It was obviously incredibly bookish. This is the same woman who wrote 84 Charing Cross Road, which I would definitely recommend that you read first before you read Q's Legacy. And it is what it says on the cover, a delightful account of a lifelong love affair with books. I just find Helene Hanff to have such a warm, funny, and endearing voice, and she just seems like such a kindred spirit, but she's also very, like, sassy and, like I said, just funny. I just find kind of getting into her thoughts to be very humorous and enjoyable, but also sympathetic. So that was delightful. I also read Nooks and Crannies by Jessica Lawson, which I've heard several booktubers talk about. And my feelings on this were really kind of similar to theirs. I enjoyed it at the time that I was reading it. This was kind of a cover buy, honestly. Like, we have a mysterious looking manor house, an imposing, elegant looking woman. There's a butler, there's a maid. This girl looks just way cool in her, like, kind of raggedy outfit, holding a lamp thing. She's got a key in her hand, there's a mouse in her pocket, and I was just like, I need to see what's going on here. And this was very enjoyable. It was a sweet story. I enjoyed the mystery, but I did kind of, like, figure it out halfway through, but I'm not going to give myself too much credit for that, because this is a novel which is geared toward children. So, you know, I don't think that's any great accomplishment that I guessed the mystery. But yeah, this was fun. It was enjoyable. If you're looking for something very cozy, juvenile and light, with a kind of touch of whimsy, I would recommend giving Nooks and Crannies a try. And then finally, I just wanted to quickly share with you two children's books that I have read recently. This one is called The Desert Is Theirs, by Byrd Baylor, illustrated by Peter Parnall. And my friend actually brought this back for me from Arizona, because she went on a trip there, and brought me back a book, so that was very sweet. This is a lovely little book. It's not, I would say it's not strictly narrative focused. It's written in verse, which is always cool. And the illustrations in it are very lovely, but it's basically looking at the desert as kind of a character alongside the people and the animals who live off of that land, and who have kind of made it their own. So a very lovely, quiet sort of read. And then I also reread recently The Rainbabies by Laura Krauss Melmed, illustrated by Jim LaMarche. This is one of my favorite books ever, genuinely. Like, this story is so enchanting. It's whimsical, it's charming, it's sweet, and this art style is just so gorgeous to me. Let me see if I can find a picture for you. Hopefully you can see that. But yeah, I discovered this book a few years ago, and I just love occasionally taking it down from the shelf and getting lost in it again. So that was a delightful reread. And then finally, I just want to give you a quick update on my Jane Austen July progress. So I'm almost done with Emma, and it's going really well. I got the audiobook of it, and yeah, I have like less than an hour left at this point. Still not really finding very much wrong with Mr. Knightley. So I don't know, you guys. Like, he might be taking the place of Darcy as my like most favorite Austen hero. I don't know. I need to wait until I finish it and then think about that. But I have really been enjoying this. But I am getting like a little bit sad now that I'm almost done with it, because that means that I don't have any more of the main Austen novels to read for the first time. But c'est la vie. So that concludes my recent / current reading situation. I hope that your reading week is lovely, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.